less than 1 week after the Paris attacks, America already has a decision to make. A decision that has pretty much already been made, but has multifaceted sub-decisions, I suppose, that are being made sort of as the days progress. The idea of Syrian refugees coming to the borders, coming across the borders and into United States territory, has become a hot-button issue ever since the attacks on Paris on Friday, November the 13th. Something where it's already been pledged that there would be a safe harbor for these individuals, that they would be able to come across the borders and find a little bit of solace within the borders of the United States of America. This has, of course, caused rampant debate among not only citizens but also politicians. Folks that are saying that this is a grievous error, a gross undersight, a big mistake. The reasons that they're citing for this is the fact that we already have plenty of individuals who are homeless, who are poor, destitute, individuals that already need our aid and service. We should be helping them instead. I'm going to answer that question right away. Those folks didn't really seem to matter until other folks were coming in, because you were sure doing a lot for them before this all happened. But we were taking more on. That's just more of them. So why don't you help the ones that you have and help these folks too? Show you can be a little bit all-inclusive. Show that it's a little bit more than just a political power play. Put your money where your mouth is. And that's especially considering where these arguments are coming from and whom they are coming from. And then, of course, there's the second reason, the Islamophobic reason, that will be harboring terrorists. Essentially, by these Syrian refugees coming onto the soil, that terrorists would be harbored. They would sneak in. And that is a possibility, considering there have been reports in Europe of individuals that have come in claiming to be Syrian refugees, but in reality have been terrorists that have been in disguise. It's understandable. It's something that, for an enemy that's on the offensive, provides a little bit of strategic advantage. It's basically spy work, either that or basic infiltration. We fear this, even though we already have 150,000 Syrian refugees or Syrian citizens here in the United States today. Any of them wanted to be a terrorist? They could be. Could Jerry Seinfeld potentially be a terrorist? Why is that name relevant? Look it up. You'll find out exactly why. What about Paula Abdul? But these folks are in Hollywood. They've already been in America. They have no ties to any terrorist organization. You're right, they don't. And who's to say that these refugees do as well? In fact, most of them have been victimized by ISIS and ISIL. They have been victimized by the very same enemy that we are hoping to fight, to combat, and to end, to rid the world of, with the help of many individuals who are now extremely pissed off, including the Muslim faith, including Islam. These folks are out on a limb, and I'm talking about ISIL and ISIS in this particular case. Considering the Western world has denounced and decried the attacks, the Eastern world has done the same, and most of their faith, in fact a large portion of the main faction of their faith, have completely and totally rebuked and denied and absolutely condemned the attacks. They are the radicals, the radical of the radicals. This would be the exact same thing as if the Westboro Baptist Church decided to put down the picket fence protest signs and instead decided to strap a bomb and blow up a funeral. So, we're worried about a few that would launch a plot, a terror plot here in America. So we should deny all of them, every single one, because of a couple. Somebody that I know made up a very good point, very good metaphor. Before you have a bowl of 10,000 M&Ms. But within those 10,000 M&Ms, there are 10 of them that are poison, or you might have actually used the number 100. Do you still stick your hand in and take a bite? I know that many people would say no. Many people would say absolutely not. If I have the prior knowledge that there are some in this bowl that are poisoned, I'm not going to risk putting that in my body. I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it at all. It's a brilliant metaphor to be used for this. You know, if you are worried about 10 bad seeds out of 10,000, are you immediately going to run away? Are you going to immediately say no? My counter-argument to that is simply this. If we're going to use M&Ms as a metaphor for people, then it means that our stomach is our country. Because by eating the M&Ms, we are accepting them into our stomach. So by eating the men, we are accepting them into our stomach, which is the country. Yeah, I know, it's weird. What about those within our stomach already, whether they be M&Ms, Skittles, Snickers bars? What about those that are already poisoned? Those whose poison is slow? Or those whose poison only comes out and poisons us through interaction? What about those that are slowly letting their poison seep, a slow drip, already within our stomach lining? There could be already, right here in America, people that are planning to do such attacks. There could be plots. There might even be some well-drawn-up figures. This is something that could be on the imminent horizon. And it's something that doesn't necessarily mean that it's from a Muslim, from a Syrian. It may be from a Christian, maybe an evil atheist, maybe someone who worships the freaking flying spaghetti monster or Cthulhu. It could be a soccer mom. It could be an investment banker. The real nature of terrorism and the real nature of extremism, the real nature of anything of this variety is that the enemy is an unknown one, even though many groups will claim responsibility, which makes them known. But true terror is one that is struck completely at random by those that you would never expect. Whenever Timothy McVeigh bombed the perpetuated the Oklahoma City bombing, that's considered an act of domestic terrorism. It was completely and totally unexpected. The Columbine shooting, sure, it's a mass murder, but it could also be seen as terror that was directed toward education, directed toward the high school system, directed toward adults, that these children are now getting guns and explosives. They're tinkering. That literally nobody is safe. You're not even safe whenever you send your child off to school, and your child is certainly not safe. Those are true acts of terror as well. These Syrian individuals, these refugees, they are folks that have been spread across all of Europe. They are far, far from home in some cases. Now there is one final thing that I must say regarding this. Something that nobody is going to like, principally because nobody wants to hear it unless it's coming out of their mouth. So long as this rhetoric is being used in order to help prove their point, they think it's fine. But when used against them, they hate it. America is a Christian nation. It sounds really, really good whenever you're protesting against gay marriage or protesting against whether or not there should be a freaking reindeer on a coffee cup. But if America is a Christian nation, then this should not be a question. We should immediately take in these refugees because of one core teaching, one core Christian doctrine, and that is to love one another as I have loved you, and to treat those as you would want to be treated. Open refusal, based off of this system, would essentially say that if America were to be overtaken and overrun, something that nobody wants to think about, not even me, but if it did happen, it would mean that whenever Americans fled and became refugees themselves, that nobody, and I mean nobody, should take them in. Not Canada, not Mexico, not France, England, Japan, no ally, no enemy. America would be out on its own. If you want to be this perpetuated by fear, if you believe that building up walls will solve the problem, you're extremely foolish and you're going to need something bigger. Why? Because a wall will just help people, or should I say hinder people, that are using the ground. There are airplanes. There are other means. Some folks are desperate enough to make catapults. there are boats. You essentially would have to lead an under-the-dome style life. Propose an under-the-dome style program, where the entirety of this nation would be domed off from the rest of the world. But it would have to come with a provision. It means that nobody else can travel outside of America to the remainder of the world. But it also means that whenever something happens in the world, America can't be called on for aid. But it also means that if something happens within America, nobody will come to help. Don't be persuaded by fear. And also, don't dictate your decision based off of the actions of very few. The real poison here is the poison of fear. And if you give in to that poison, then the terrorists, the folks that you're hoping to stop, the people that you condemn, claim to be your enemy. If you give in to fear, then they're winning. If you continue to give in to fear, to the point where you abandon all of your supposed values, then they've won. They'll continue to win. Until you realize that true defiance actually means doing the things that you hope to hell as a terrorist, or you hope to hell as an opponent, that your opponent doesn't do. This sort of empathy, it is a risk. This sort of idea, it is very risky. It could backfire. But it also could work completely in your favor. And it's also a good, moral, Christian